Hey everyone, ready to climb the Google mountain.
Uh-huh. Always.
Today's deep dive, we're tackling SEO, and our guide is The Art of SEO, 3rd edition.
The SEO Bible, practically. Eric Enge, Stephen Spencer, Jesse Stracciatella, they know their stuff.
Exactly, and it's the key to getting your website noticed, right? Because what's the point of a website lost in the internet void?
It's like that tree falling in the woods, nobody hears it. And this book, they get right to it. Chapter 1, Search. Reflecting consciousness and connecting commerce. It's deep. Makes you think about why search engines even exist.
So it's more than just typing best coffee shop. It's about the WHY behind it.
Exactly. It's like the universe trying to understand what we want from the internet. The book breaks down all these different search types: navigational, informational, transactional.
Okay, so like you want a specific website, you're looking for info, or you're ready to buy.
You got it. And they even talk about how mobile searches have shaken things up. People scan results differently on their phones now. Gotta be quick, gotta be catchy.
Makes sense. Who reads those long paragraphs on a tiny screen? Okay, so Chapter 2, Search Engine Basics, Time to Get Technical.
A bit. It's like peeking under the hood of Google. Crawling, indexing, ranking, they explain how it all works.
It's wild how much happens behind the scenes when you hit that search button.
Right. And knowing how it works, that's how you optimize, how you get seen.
That's the goal. Okay, Chapter 3, SEO Planning, Customizing Your Strategy. So no more one-size-fits-all SEO tricks.
Nope, those days are gone. This chapter is all about building a personalized game plan. You got to know your audience, your competition, and what you actually want to achieve online.
Love that it's strategic.
Exactly. And it goes beyond just keywords and content. Website structure, mobile optimization, it all matters.
Okay, so we've got our strategy, but how do we make our website Google-friendly?
That's chapter 4, on-page SEO. Think of it like dressing up your website for a job interview.
Uh-huh. Got to make a good first impression.
Exactly. Using the right keywords in your page titles, headings, content, writing those meta descriptions that make people want to CLICK.
It's all about standing out in that crowded search results page.
You got it. Now, chapter 5, keyword research. This is where we find those magic words that unlock higher rankings.
Keyword research. It sounds deceptively simple, but I bet it's more complicated than it seems.
It's a deep dive for sure. It's not just about finding any old keywords, it's about understanding the intent behind them.
Intent. So, like, what are people really looking for when they type in a certain phrase?
Bingo. Are they looking for information, ready to buy,
Right?
trying to find a specific website?
That makes so much sense. We need to align our content with what people actually want to see.
Exactly. And that takes us to chapter 6, content optimization. Content is king, but optimized content, that's a whole other level.
It's like content with a crown and scepter, ruling the search results.
I love it. But seriously, this chapter is about crafting content that both search engines and D people will love.
Because nobody wants to read robotic, keyword-stuffed content, right?
Right. It needs to be engaging, informative, and easy to read.
So how do we find that sweet spot?
Well, the book dives into all sorts of tactics, structuring your content effectively, using visuals, incorporating internal links. It's about guiding both readers and search engines through your website.
Like building those yellow brick roads to SEO success. Speaking of which, Chapter 7 is all about content marketing.
Yeah.
How does that play into the SEO game?
This chapter really challenges the traditional idea of link building.
Oh, how so?
Instead of chasing after links, it's about creating content so good, so valuable that other websites naturally want to link to it.
So you're attracting links instead of begging for them. I like the sound of that.
It's a game changer. The book talks about creating different types of content that are like link magnets, in-depth blog posts, infographics, videos, even interactive tools.
It's about becoming a thought leader, the go-to resource in your niche.
Exactly. But it's not just about other websites, right? There's also social media. Chapter 8, how social media and user data play a role in search results and rankings. That's a mouthful.
It does sound like a bit of a mystery, this whole social media and SEO connection.
It is. Likes, shares, retweets, they might not directly boost rankings, but they definitely play a role.
So even if that Facebook isn't directly translating to a higher ranking, it's still getting your content seen by more people.
Exactly. It's about visibility, brand awareness, and driving traffic to your website.
It's all connected.
It is. Speaking of connections, we can't forget about link building, right?
Chapter 9, the one everyone's both curious and terrified of.
Uh-huh. Right. Link building has kind of a bad rap, but this chapter focuses on ethical link building practices.
Because there are definitely some shady tactics out there.
Oh yeah, black hat SEO is a real thing, and it can get you penalized faster than you can say algorithm update.
So how do we build links the right way?
It's all about creating amazing content that other websites will naturally want to link to, building relationships with other website owners, guest blogging, participating in industry forums. It's about becoming part of the online community.
It's like networking, but for websites.
Exactly. And speaking of expanding your reach, Chapter 10, SEO for specific search engines and platforms, reminds us that there's a whole world beyond Google.
Oh, right. YouTube, Bing, Amazon, they all have their own algorithms and audiences.
Exactly. What works on Google might not work on Amazon, so it's crucial to tailor your strategies accordingly.
It's about understanding the nuances of each platform. Okay, Chapter 11, Tracking Results and Measuring Success. Time to see if all this hard work is paying off.
You got it. This chapter is all about using data to make informed decisions and demonstrate the ROI of your SEO efforts.
So what kind of data are we talking about here?
Well, website traffic is a big one, obviously. Are more people visiting your site? But it's not just about the number, it's about the quality of that traffic.
Right. We want people who are genuinely interested in what we have to offer.
Exactly. We also want to look at things like bounce rate, time on site, pages per visit. Are people actually engaging with your content?
And of course, we can't forget about keyword rankings.
Absolutely. Are you climbing the ranks for your target keywords?
It's like that classic game of chutes and ladders, except instead of ladders, we have backlinks.
Love the analogy. And speaking of backlinks, we definitely want to keep an eye on those.
Backlinks, those are the links from other websites to yours, right?
Exactly. They're like votes of confidence in the eyes of Google. So the more high-quality backlinks you have, the better.
Okay, I'm definitely starting to see how all these pieces fit together.
It's all connected.
So we've covered traffic, rankings, backlinks. Anything else we should be tracking?
Well, the ultimate goal of all this SEO magic is to drive conversions.
Conversions. Those are the money makers, people actually buying our products, signing up for our services, joining our email list.
Exactly. So tracking your conversion rate is crucial for understanding which SEO strategies are actually moving the needle for your business.
Okay, we're officially drowning in data, but in a good way, I think.
Exactly. Data is power, especially in the world of SEO.
So we've got our SEO strategy in place, we're tracking our progress, but then disaster strikes. Chapter 12, domain changes, redesigns, and troubleshooting. It sounds a bit ominous.
It's the SEO equivalent of having a first aid kit on hand. You hope you never have to use it, but it's good to be prepared.
Makes sense. Websites are constantly evolving, and sometimes those changes can have unintended consequences for our SEO if we're not careful.
This chapter is all about mitigating those risks and ensuring that any changes we make to our websites are implemented in a way that preserves and even enhances our SEO.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What kind of website changes should we be extra cautious about?
Well, one of the biggest changes a website can undergo is a domain name change.
You mean like switching from yourwebsite.com to your new website.com?
Exactly. It seems simple enough, but it can wreak havoc on your SEO if not handled correctly.
Because all those backlinks pointing to your old domain name will suddenly be pointing to a dead end.
Exactly. It's like moving to a new house and forgetting to tell the post office your new address.
So how do we avoid getting lost in the digital shuffle when we change our domain name?
The book outlines a very specific process for migrating your website to a new domain without losing all your hard-earned search rankings. It involves things like choosing a new domain that's relevant to your brand, implementing 301 redirects from your old pages to your new pages, and updating your Google Search Console with your new domain name.
Okay, so it's all about leaving a clear trail of breadcrumbs for Google to follow.
Exactly. And even if you're not planning a complete domain name change, this chapter is still relevant because it also covers best practices for website redesigns.
So if we're giving our website a facelift, we need to make sure we're not inadvertently messing with our SEO in the process.
Exactly. A website redesign can be as simple as updating your color scheme and fonts, or as complex as migrating to a whole new content management system.
And both scenarios could potentially impact our search rankings.
Absolutely. The key is to carefully plan and execute these redesigns, making sure that all your important pages are accounted for in the new design, that all your URLs are properly redirected, and that your website's overall structure is optimized for both users and search engines.
It's like renovating a house. You don't want to knock down a load-bearing wall without having a plan to support the structure.
I like that analogy. And while we're on the topic of website maintenance, let's not forget about content migration.
Content migration.
Yeah.
Is that like moving your blog posts from one platform to another?
Exactly. Maybe you're moving from WordPress to Squarespace, or maybe you're consolidating multiple blogs into one.
I can see how that could get messy from an SEO perspective if you're not careful.
It can. You don't want to lose any of those valuable backlinks, and you want to make sure all your content is properly redirected so that Google doesn't think you've just deleted a bunch of pages from your site.
So careful planning and attention to detail are key.
Absolutely. And speaking of planning and attention to detail, that brings us to one of my favorite chapters in the book, Chapter 13, SEO Education and Research.
The importance of being a lifelong learner, especially in a field as dynamic as SEO.
You got it. The SEO landscape is constantly changing. New algorithms, new best practices, new tools. It can be overwhelming to keep up with it all.
So how do we avoid getting left behind? Where can we go to stay informed and up to date on all things SEO?
Well, the book has a whole chapter dedicated to SEO education and research, which I think is fantastic. They really emphasize the importance of staying curious and continuously learning.
I love that. So what are some of their recommended resources for staying in the SEO loop?
Well, one of the best ways to stay on top of the latest trends and best practices is to follow industry blogs and publications.
Do you have any favorites you can recommend?
Oh, absolutely. Search Engine Land, Search Engine Journal, Moz blog, those are some of the classics. And of course, you can't go wrong with Google's own Webmaster Central blog.
Straight from the horse's mouth.
Yeah.
What about conferences and webinars? Are those worth checking out?
Definitely. They're a great way to network with other SEO professionals, learn from industry experts, and get a sense of where the industry is headed.
It's like a giant SEO brainstorming session. Okay, last but not least, Chapter 14, Building an SEO Team, In-house versus Outsource. This one's for all the business owners and marketing managers out there who are trying to figure out the best way to tackle SEO.
This is a big one. Building a successful SEO team is crucial for any business that wants to compete online, but there's no one-size-fits-all approach.
So it's not necessarily an either-or situation. You don't have to choose between hiring in-house or outsourcing to an agency.
Exactly. The best approach depends on your specific needs, your budget, and your long-term goals.
So it's all about finding the right people and the right resources to help you achieve your SEO goals, whether that means building an in-house team, outsourcing to an agency, or a combination of both.
Exactly. And finally, we arrive at Chapter 15, the grand finale, the future of SEO.
The crystal ball chapter. What does the future hold for the ever-evolving world of SEO?
Well, the book dives into some really fascinating trends that are already starting to shape the future of search, things like voice search, artificial intelligence, the increasing importance of user experience, and the rise of visual search.
It's a lot to wrap our heads around.
It is. But the main takeaway is that the SEO industry is not standing still. It's constantly evolving, and the key to staying ahead of the curve is to be adaptable, to be curious, and to never stop learning.
And on that note, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll delve even deeper into the fascinating world of SEO and explore some of these emerging trends in more detail. Stay tuned.
Welcome back, everyone. Before the break, we were stepping into the future of SEO, and let me tell you, things are about to get really wild.
Wild in a good way, I hope. Spill the beans. What kind of changes are we talking about?
Well, get ready to have your mind blown by voice search, AI, user experience, and even visual search.
Okay, whoa, that's a lot to unpack. Let's start with voice search. It's everywhere these days, but how does it actually impact SEO?
It's huge. See, when people use voice search, they tend to speak more naturally, like they're talking to a real person.
So instead of typing best pizza, they'll say something like, hey Siri, where can I get a good slice of pizza near me?
Exactly. Longer phrases, more conversational tone, and Google knows this. So we need to optimize for those natural language searches.
So it's not just about keywords anymore. It's about understanding the intent behind the words and how people actually speak.
You got it. Think about how you can answer questions conversationally through your content, almost like you're having a dialogue with your audience.
That makes sense. Okay, so what about AI? That feels like the wild west of the internet right now. How is it shaking things up in SEO?
It's huge. AI is already changing how we optimize for search, from analyzing data and identifying patterns to even suggesting relevant keywords and content ideas.
So AI can basically do our SEO homework for us.
In a way, yes. It can automate tasks, personalize search results, even understand user intent on a deeper level. But don't worry, we SEO professionals aren't out of a job just yet.
Phew, I was getting a bit worried there. So AI is a powerful tool in our SEO arsenal. but it's not replacing human expertise anytime soon.
Exactly. Now let's talk about user experience, or UX. This one's been gaining traction for a while now, but why is it so crucial for the future of SEO?
Well, it seems obvious if people have a bad experience on your website, they're not going to stick around, right?
You got it. Google and other search engines, they want to provide their users with the best possible experience. That means websites that are not only relevant to their search queries, but also easy to navigate, visually appealing, and fast loading.
It's like the difference between staying in a dingy motel room and a luxurious five-star hotel. You're going to remember the one that made you feel good.
Exactly. A good UX can lead to longer dwell times, lower bounce rates, and ultimately higher rankings. So it's not just about aesthetics, it's about creating a website that people actually enjoy using.
And since we're talking about creating user-friendly websites, let's touch on mobile-first indexing. That's been a hot topic in SEO for a while.
It's huge. Basically, it means that Google now primarily uses the mobile version of your website to determine your rankings.
So if your website looks amazing on a desktop but is clunky and slow on mobile, you're in trouble.
You got it. Mobile optimization is non-negotiable these days. Make sure your website is responsive, loads quickly on all devices, and is easy to navigate on a smaller screen.
So mobile first, content is king, AI is our new best friend.
Don't forget voice search.
Right, voice search. It's a lot to keep track of.
It is, but that's what makes SEO so dynamic and exciting. Now, one last trend to touch on before we move on, visual search.
Visual search, is that what it sounds like? Using images to search instead of text?
You got it. Think Google Lens, Pinterest Lens. You can snap a picture of something and instantly find information about it online.
That's wild. But how do we optimize for that? It seems like a whole different ball game compared to traditional SEO.
It's definitely a new frontier, but there are ways to optimize for visual search, using high-quality images on your website, adding descriptive alt text to those images, and even creating image sitemaps.
So it's all about making our images as search engine friendly as our text content.
Exactly. And as visual search technology continues to evolve, I think we're only going to see it become more sophisticated and more integrated into our online lives.
It's mind-blowing to think about where SEO might be in the next 5 or 10 years.
It really is. But for now, let's shift gears a bit and revisit Chapter 11, Tracking Results and Measuring Success. Because what good is all this SEO knowledge if we don't know how to track our progress and see what's actually working?
Data is king.
You got it. We need to know what's moving the needle and what's not. So let's talk about those all-important SEO metrics.
Hit me with your best shot. What should we be tracking?
Well, we've got to start with website traffic, right? Are people actually visiting your website?
Seems like a good place to start.
Right. But it's not just about the quantity of traffic. It's about the quality. Are these visitors sticking around, or are they bouncing off as quickly as they came?
That's where bounce rate comes in. A high bounce rate, that's a red flag, right?
Exactly. If people are leaving your site after only a few seconds, it could be a sign that your content isn't relevant, your website's difficult to use, or maybe you just need to rethink your overall SEO strategy.
So low bounce rates, high traffic, those are good things. What else should we be keeping an eye on?
Keyword rankings. It's the bread and butter of SEO.
Because everyone wants that coveted top spot on Google.
Exactly. And while keyword rankings aren't the only thing that matters, they're still a good indicator of your website's overall visibility and authority.
So how do we track those rankings? Are there tools that can help us with this?
Absolutely. There are tons of great keyword tracking tools out there, both free and paid. These tools can track your website's ranking for specific keywords over time, so you can see what's working, what's not, and how your rankings fluctuate in response to your SEO efforts.
That's amazing. It's like having a secret window into the mind of Google. Okay, we've covered traffic, rankings, anything else?
Well, ultimately, we want to see how our SEO efforts are translating into actual business results.
Right, because at the end of the day, SEO is about more than just vanity metrics. We want to see those conversions rolling in.
You got it. Conversions are the holy grail of SEO.
So are we talking about people actually buying our products, signing up for our services, joining our email list?
Exactly. Those are all conversions. And by tracking your conversion rate, you can see which SEO strategies are most effective at driving those valuable actions.
It's like connecting the dots between our SEO efforts and actual business growth.
Exactly. And that brings us to backlinks. Remember those?
Backlinks, those are the links from other websites back to ours.
Yeah.
Right. The more, the merrier.
Well, not quite. It's not just about the quantity of backlinks, but the quality. A backlink from a high-authority, reputable website is worth far more than a dozen backlinks from spammy, low-quality sites.
So how do we make sure we're getting those golden backlinks?
It goes back to creating high-quality content that people actually want to link to.
Content is king. It always comes back to that, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah.
But even with the best content in the world, sometimes things happen. Websites change, domains migrate, redesigns go awry. And that's where Chapter 12, Domain Changes, Redesigns, and Troubleshooting, comes in handy.
It's the SEO first aid kit.
Exactly. This chapter is all about anticipating potential problems and knowing how to fix them before they turn into major SEO disasters.
So let's talk about domain changes first. Seems like a pretty straightforward process. You just buy a new domain name and redirect your old website to the new one, right?
You'd think so, but it's a bit more complicated than that.
How so?
Well, if you're not careful, you could lose all those valuable backlinks you've worked so hard to earn. And Google might not immediately recognize that your new domain is the same as your old one, which could lead to a temporary drop in rankings.
So it's like moving to a new house and forgetting to tell the post office your new address. All those letters and packages end up lost in the void.
Exactly. That's why it's crucial to follow best practices when changing your domain name, like setting up 301 redirects from your old pages to your new pages, updating your Google Search Console with your new domain name, and even reaching out to websites that link to you and asking them to update their links.
So it's all about leaving a clear trail of breadcrumbs for Google to follow.
Precisely.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, what about website redesigns? Are those as potentially disastrous as domain changes?
They can be if you're not careful. Even seemingly small changes to your website's design or structure can have a ripple effect on your SEO.
So what should we be mindful of when redesigning our websites?
Well, first and foremost, make sure your new design is mobile-friendly. We've already talked about the importance of mobile-first indexing, and that definitely applies to website redesigns.
Mobile first. Check. What else?
Pay close attention to your website's structure and navigation. Make sure your new website is easy for both users and search engines to navigate.
So clear and intuitive navigation, a logical sitemap, that sort of thing.
Exactly. And don't forget about your content. If you're moving content to new URLs during the redesign process, make sure you implement those 301 redirects to avoid broken links and lost traffic.
So it's like we're playing a giant game of SEO Jenga. One wrong move and the whole thing could come crashing down.
That's a great way to put it. But don't worry, even if things do go wrong, it's not the end of the world. That's where the troubleshooting part of this chapter comes in.
So there's hope for us yet, even if we accidentally break our website.
Always. The book outlines some common SEO issues that can arise from domain changes, redesigns, and other website updates.
Like what? Give some examples.
Well, one common issue is a sudden drop in traffic after a website redesign. This could be due to a number of factors, like broken links, slow loading times, or even a change in your website's content that Google doesn't like.
So what's the solution?
The first step is to identify the root cause of the problem.
Easier said than done, right?
It can be, but thankfully there are tools that can help us pinpoint the issue. Google Analytics, for example, can give you a wealth of information about your website's traffic, including where your visitors are coming from, what pages they're visiting, and how long they're staying on your site.
It's like having a digital detective on the case.
Exactly. And once you've identified the problem, you can start taking steps to fix it.
Okay, so we've talked about domain changes, redesigns, and troubleshooting. What about content migration? Is that something we need to be worried about?
Content migration can definitely be tricky, but it doesn't have to be a nightmare.
So if we're moving our content to a new platform, what are the key things to keep in mind?
The most important thing is to make sure that all your content is properly redirected. You don't want to lose any of those valuable backlinks, and you don't want Google to think you've just deleted a bunch of pages from your site.
So those 301 redirects are our best friend when it comes to content migration.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, but I have a feeling this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the world of SEO.
You're absolutely right. SEO is a constantly evolving field, and what works today might not work tomorrow. That's why it's so important to be a lifelong learner.
Speaking of lifelong learning, I'm excited to dig into Chapter 13, SEO Education and Research.
Me too. This chapter is near and dear to my heart because it emphasizes the importance of staying curious, embracing experimentation, and continually expanding our SEO knowledge base.
So how do we do that? Where do we go to quench our thirst for SEO wisdom?
Well, the book highlights a wealth of valuable resources for SEO education. One of my personal favorites is industry blogs and publications.
Oh, yeah. Do you have any recommendations for those of us who are just starting to build our SEO library?
Absolutely. Some of my go-to resources include Search Engine Land, Search Engine Journal, Mozblog, and of course you can't go wrong with Google's own Webmaster Central blog.
It's like getting the inside scoop straight from the source.
Yeah,
What about conferences and webinars? Are those worth checking out?
definitely. They're a fantastic way to network with other SEO professionals, learn from industry experts, and stay ahead of the curve on the latest trends and best practices.
It's like a giant SEO think tank.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of online communities. Places like Reddit, Twitter, and LinkedIn are buzzing with SEO discussions, questions, and shared experiences.
It's like having a virtual water cooler where you can bounce ideas off other SEO enthusiasts.
Exactly. And the best part is, these online communities are incredibly welcoming to newcomers and seasoned pros alike. So don't be shy about jumping in, asking questions, and sharing your own knowledge.
It's all about learning from each other and lifting each other up in the world of SEO. Now, speaking of teamwork, Chapter 14, Building an SEO Team, In-House versus Outsource, acknowledges that SEO can be a team sport, and sometimes we need a little help from our friends.
It's true. SEO can be a lot to handle, especially if you're running a business, managing a website, and juggling a million other things at the same time.
So how do we know if we need to bring in reinforcements?
Well, it really depends on your specific needs, your budget, your overall goals. The book does a great job of breaking down the pros and cons of both in-house and outsourced SEO, recognizing that there's no one-size-fits-all approach.
So it's not necessarily an either situation. You can mix and match, having both in-house expertise and outsourced support.
Exactly. The key is to assess your needs, evaluate your resources, and then choose the approach that best aligns with your business objectives.
It's about building the dream team that will help you achieve your SEO goals, whether that's a team of in-house experts, an army of freelancers, or a combination of both. Now, we can't wrap up this deep dive without talking about the future of SEO. Chapter 15, The Future of SEO. It sounds both exciting and a little bit terrifying.
It's definitely both. The SEO landscape is constantly changing, and the future of search is full of possibilities.
So what could we expect? What's on the horizon for SEO?
Well, the book highlights a number of emerging trends that are already starting to shape the future of search. One of the biggest is the rise of voice search.
We talked about that earlier, right? How people are using their voices more and more to search for information online.
Exactly. And as voice search continues to grow in popularity, it's only going to become more important for websites to optimize for those natural language searches.
So less keyword stuffing, more conversational content.
Exactly. Another big trend is the growing influence of artificial intelligence, or AI.
AI is everywhere these days.
It is, and it's already starting to revolutionize the way we approach SEO, from automating tasks and personalizing search results to providing us with deeper insights into user behavior.
So AI is like our new SEO sidekick.
In a way, yes, but like any good sidekick, it needs to be guided by human intelligence.
Right. We still need to be the ones calling the shots.
Exactly. Now, another trend that's closely tied to AI is the increasing importance of user experience.
Because at the end of the day, we're not just optimizing for search engines, we're optimizing for humans.
Exactly, and Google knows that. They want to provide their users with the best possible experience, which means ranking websites that are not only relevant to their search queries, but also easy to use, visually appealing, and mobile-friendly.
So it's not just about keywords and backlinks anymore, it's about the whole package.
Exactly. And that brings us to mobile-first indexing, which we touched on earlier.
Right, because more and more people are accessing the internet on their smartphones these days.
Exactly. And as a result, Google has made it clear that mobile friendliness is now a major ranking factor.
So if your website isn't optimized for mobile, you're basically shooting yourself in the foot.
Pretty much. Make sure your website is responsive, loads quickly on all devices, and is easy to navigate on a smaller screen.
Okay, so we've got voice search, AI, user experience, mobile-first indexing. Anything else we should be keeping an eye on?
Well, one more trend I want to mention is the rise of visual search.
We talked about that briefly earlier, right? Using images instead of text to search online.
Exactly. And as visual search technology continues to evolve, I think we're only going to see it become more sophisticated and more integrated into our online lives.
It's mind-blowing to think about where SEO might be in the next 5 or 10 years.
It really is.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling both excited and a little bit overwhelmed by all this talk about the future of SEO.
I hear you. It's a lot to process, but the good news is we don't have to figure it all out on our own. There are tons of great resources out there to help us stay ahead of the curve, like the ones we discussed in Chapter 13.
Right? Industry blogs, conferences, online communities. There's a whole world of SEO knowledge out there just waiting to be explored.
Exactly. And the more we learn and grow as SEO professionals, the better equipped we'll be to navigate the ever-changing landscape of search.
So, to wrap up this deep dive into the art of SEO, what's the one key takeaway you want our listeners to walk away with?
SEO is not a one-time fix. It's an ongoing journey of learning, experimenting, and adapting. The digital landscape is constantly evolving, and the key to staying ahead of the curve is to stay curious, embrace change, and never stop learning.
Words to live by. And on that note, we'll wrap up this episode of The Deep Dive. We hope you enjoyed the journey as much as we did. Until next time, happy optimizing. It's a lot to take in, but super fascinating. But let's circle back to something we touched on earlier. Chapter 11, tracking results and measuring success. Because what good is all this SEO knowledge if we don't know if it's actually working?
Absolutely. Data is our compass in the SEO world. It tells us what's working, what's not, and where to focus our efforts.
Okay, so let's talk metrics. What should we be measuring?
Well, website traffic is a good starting point. Are people actually finding their way to your website?
Makes sense. More traffic, more potential customers, right?
Right. But it's not just about the quantity of traffic, it's about the quality. Are these visitors sticking around and engaging with your content, or are they bouncing off as quickly as they came?
That's where bounce rate comes in. A high bounce rate, that's a sign that something's not quite right.
Exactly. It could mean your content isn't relevant, your website's hard to navigate, or maybe your design is scaring people away.
Yikes. Okay, so low bounce rate, high traffic, those are good signs. What else should we be looking at?
Keyword rankings. It's classic SEO, but still so relevant.
Everyone wants that top spot on Google.
Exactly. And while rankings aren't everything, there's still a strong indicator of your website's visibility and authority.
So how do we keep track of all these keywords? Are there tools for that?
Absolutely. There are tons of keyword tracking tools out there, both free and paid. They can track your website's ranking for specific keywords over time so you can see what's working, what's not, and how your rankings are affected by your SEO efforts.
It's like having a secret weapon in the SEO battleground. Okay, so we've covered traffic, bounce rate, keywords.
Yeah.
What about conversions? Those are the ultimate goal, right?
Conversions are the holy grail of SEO. It's one thing to get people to your website, but it's another thing entirely to get them to take action to buy your product, sign up for your service, or join your email list.
So how do we make those conversions happen?
That's where all those SEO elements we've been talking about come together: the keyword research, the content optimization, the link building. It's about creating a seamless experience for the user, from the moment they land on your website to the moment they click that Buy Now button.
It's like we're creating a roadmap for our visitors, guiding them towards that ultimate conversion.
Exactly. And by tracking our conversion rates, we can see what's working, what's not, and fine-tune our strategies accordingly.
Data-driven SEO, I love it. But before we get too carried away with all these metrics and strategies, let's not forget the human element of SEO.
You're so right. At the end of the day, we're not just optimizing for search engines, we're optimizing for people.
Exactly. Real people who are searching for information, products, and solutions online.
And that's what makes SEO so interesting and rewarding. We have the power to connect with people from all over the world, to help them find what they're looking for, and to build meaningful relationships online.
That's a great point. SEO isn't just about algorithms and technical jargon. It's about understanding human behavior, connecting with your audience, and creating valuable content that makes a difference.
Exactly. And that's what the art of SEO is all about: blending the technical aspects of SEO with the creative and the human. It's about understanding how search engines work, but it's also about understanding how people search, how they think, and what they're looking for online.
It's about finding that sweet spot between optimizing for robots and optimizing for humans.
Exactly. And the more we can bridge that gap, the more successful we'll be in the ever-evolving world of SEO.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the art of SEO, what's the one key takeaway you want our listeners to remember?
SEO is a journey, not a destination. It's an ongoing process of learning, adapting, and refining your strategies to stay ahead of the curve.
It's about embracing the challenge, staying curious, and never giving up on your quest for SEO excellence.
Exactly. And remember, the most successful SEO professionals are the ones who are constantly learning, experimenting, and pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this episode of The Deep Dive. We hope you've enjoyed the journey as much as we have. Until next time, happy optimizing.